Jason, you got to stand up and show that shirt off. There you go. So, yeah, that's Jason's shirt. For those of you who are listening at home, the sights are Lucky Amy thing. The ejection port is a pew-pew tube. The bullet coming out, which actually looks like a full cartridge, says Fast Pew. The flash is a magic light. The trigger is a clicky bang button. The magazine is the pew holder, and then the cartridge is the pew, and it says Anatomy of a Pew Pewer.
Jason, stand up for the rest of the show. It'll look a lot better than what you normally do.
Man. I ain't standing anymore.
I don't blame you. I know you've been on your feet all day.
That's rough. So yeah, I just wanted to. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network. I want to take time to thank Jake and Ryan over at Patriot Patch Company. That's patriotpatch.co. And here is January's patch of the month. And it says, what now, 2021? It's a slot machine. It's got the Murder Hornets, coronavirus, Molotov cocktails, indicating rioting, and then a question mark. So far, it's more rioting. Anyway, and they also make a nice, awesome sticker to go with it, if you remember the Patch of the Month Club. And a card with Ryan's original drawing.
Just like mine.
Yeah, except for I showed the front of it, you showed the back, slacker.
Just like mine, right there.
So, Jake and Ryan, Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co. Great patches and lots of fun other stuff too. So, also want to take time to thank Sean and the gang over at Firearms Radio Network for giving us a place to hang out every week. So, anyway, so what's everybody been up to?
Mine's real short and sweet. I got put in jail.
Yeah, you did.
For posting links to the MeWe group that allows buying and selling our components, primers, powder, so dyes, presses, whatever. Only thing we don't allow is anything requires 4473. But anyway, the thing is, I haven't said much openly, but I'll say it now. Facebook is out of control. Ever since the great robbery of 2020, the great voting booth robbery of 2020, the radicals, they're getting radical. We're going to wind up moving. Mike and I haven't talked about it. I'm probably pretty sure when they kill us, we're going to wind up having to depend upon other social platforms like MeWe. There's one I'm working on, but they're right now they start growing too slow. It's called Gab. It's a free speech platform. GAB.com.
Yeah, it's being advertised as a free speech platform. So,
but anyway,
Jim, did I hear you right that MeWe put you in jail for?
No, Jason. Facebook put me in jail.
Okay, gotcha.
All because all I did was try taking nudge people over to a group where they won't get in trouble.
Right.
So I got in trouble.
Yeah.
There's for you, Facebook, right there. Especially you, Zuckerberg, piece of doggy do. Yeah, angry? Oh, I'd say
a little bit, a skosh, perhaps.
So damn mad I couldn't even type for a while. Sorry about being vulgar.
No worries. No worries at all.
Of course, too, YouTube in general, there's a lot more profanity than what I just did. Thank you, old OL1 guy. Thank you.
Anyway. So, what's everybody else been up to?
Nick and Ray. I haven't seen Ray for a while. Welcome back, Ray.
Thank you.
What you guys been up to in the last week?
I did a little bit of reloading last night. Loaded up some 6.5 by 53 Argentine for a range trip we're doing this weekend.
6.5 Argentine. Now that's got to be comparable somehow or another to the Creedmoor in ballistics, not necessarily accuracy.
It's as far as ballistic wise, it's very close to a 303 bridge.
Really?
The ballistics, it uses a 312 diameter bullet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said 6.5. My bad.
Did I say 6.5? I thought it said 7.65. And who knows? It's been a long day.
You probably did.
I know I'm doing tomorrow night. I'm gonna load up some 6.5 jab as well for the range trip.
Okay. Those Arasaka barrels were known to be pretty damn good barrels.
They are chrome lined. The receivers are super strong receivers. Probably the strongest military receiver as far as pressure wise in the world.
I've heard that for decades. And matter of fact, the receiver is actually quite a bit stronger than the brass.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying, but still, you can actually, overload the brass and the receiver just keeps on ticking.
Oh, yeah.
You guys were going to say something else and I interrupted. Please excuse me.
No.
I think you just did brass prep, a lot of brass
Prep, yeah.
Well, you come to the right show, Ray, where we were just finishing up with brass prep last week.
Yep. So, Ray, where did that conversation go about the 44 mag that you don't own?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't tell him everything. I don't have one.
Oh, does somebody in your
I got to keep guessing.
Okay. Just smack him upside the head, Ray. He'll get the message. I allow you.
If I tell him everything I've got, he wants to go play with it or borrow it or something.
Sure.
Jorgen. Hey, buddy. You folks up there in Canuckland. Right. Jorgen Rangan. Bite me.
Jorgen said this is worse than when the Egyptians took away Jim's chisel and stone tablet.
I was writing a 10 Commandments.
The Cliff Notes version.
Mm-hmm. Jason, did you do anything besides get a nice T-shirt for Christmas?
I talked to Dusty this week, and he is planning on working up a load for his 308. Now, he's got a shorter barrel. I think he told me it's 22 inches, but he wants to work something up to shoot 2,000 yards. That's his goal.
In a 308?
In a 308. And he's going to load it long. It doesn't have to be mag length. But just for the occasional, I shoot my 308 out to 2,000 yards, I told you so type of thing. That's why he's doing this. And I'm pretty confident he could do it. He's once he sets his mind to something, he'll figure something out.
Oh yeah, it's entirely possible. It's just a matter of how big the arc's going to be as you're lobbing it in there.
Yeah.
Speaking of arc, look at Jorgen Rangan's latest comment.
Jim, thou shalt not powder coateth thine projectiles. That's awesome.
There goes the show. There goes
the neighborhood.
Jorgen. Don't sugarcoat it, buddy. Just tell it like it is. This show's supposed to be G-rated. Of course, I made it extras now.
Nah, you didn't make an X.
Yeah, Paul Nelson commented a 200 grain burger bullet followed by 40-64.
Good recipe.
And he was actually looking at the 185 burger something and 40-64. He was just doing some research, but he's in the ballpark.
Yeah, he'll need that heavy slug to carry that far. He'll be elevating at about 30 degrees, maybe 35, maybe 40. Whoa. Aim it at the treetops.
It's a rainbow.
Uh, that's all right.
Gives a whole new meaning to the word "taste the rainbow."
But if you can do it, you can send it out there and you can hit your target.
Right?
More power to you, brother.
You're right. You're right. That's a very good hard time skill to have.
I think he's going to need a 400 MOA rail to stick that scope on, but
You mean 40 degrees or 4 degrees?
400 MOA.
Okay. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Somebody should. Anyway. So, really didn't do much. Worked a lot, so. And I had a tooth pulled last Monday, which I didn't really, I talked about a little bit. But then Thursday and Friday, I was back into the dentist both days for it. It's still bothering the heck out of me, so. Gracie, I ate the summer sausage. It's gone. You can't have any. Would you like to come up and see?
You still smell like it.
It's gone. I gave you the last of it. So there you go. Jim Madaw said, aim 2 clouds high and let her rip. Boy, there's a lot of typos in there this evening, Jim. He says, and let her tip. I'm thinking it's supposed to be let her rip, but I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
Nelson said 200 grain bullet by Bruce is what's mostly preferred by F-class shooters, for the record. Idaho Rogers USMC says, I know a guy that's done 2,000 with the 200 grain burger and done it consistently. However, I'm not that guy.
Me either.
One of the Facebook guys asked a couple questions. He says, what do you guys recommend more, 308 or 30-06? Depends on what you're planning on doing.
Depends upon what you own.
Yep. And then he asked what our thoughts were on the primer shortage.
Okay, Jason, let's put this question in context, Jason. You own a 308, I own a 308, I own a 270, I own a 280, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Which caliber would you prefer? You own an 06 too, as I recall, or no, wait a minute, your boy does, right?
No, I do.
Okay. Which one for long range would you prefer? Caliber only. Thinking in terms of caliber only. Not rifle, not the AR-10 that you own, not the bolt gun you own. But which caliber would you go for if you were going to think long range, caliber only?
30-06.
Why?
A little more speed.
Yes, and what else?
More room for powder.
There you go. That's why they get more speed. Jason's exactly right. At least I agree with him anyway.
Oh, my.
How about you, Ray?
I don't do much long range shooting, but I can see your point. The 30-06.
It's not the parent cartridge of the 308, 300 Savages, but I'll tell you, I've actually reloaded 30-06, necked it down to 308, and fired it, and works well.
Paul Loud, you, sir, are a blankety blank. And the answer is 30-06 will travel farther.
You bet. And you might even hit the target instead of hitting the bench and the ground in front of the bench.
Right.
Well, seeing as how that 270 isn't going to have any spin on it, it's going to start keyholing right out the barrel. Yeah. Plus the fact that there's no seal for the bullet, so you're losing all of that. So hey, we got somebody watching from the
PI, from the Philippine Islands.
Awesome. Welcome.
Yep, welcome.
What's that Filipino egg roll?
Balut.
That's the egg.
Oh.
Shoot. I was going to ask him to make me a Filipino egg roll.
Spring roll?
It's like a spring roll, but that's not what it's called. But they're delicious. I used to have a
good grief.
Filipino lady that was a tenant in my dad's house, and she made me those little egg rolls one time. Just awesome. Welcome to the food podcast.
Yeah.
Can you tell I'm hungry and I haven't had dinner yet?
We also have new hosts on the show, too, in the operator's seat, sitting there right beside of Mike's 550.
She's not new.
Lumpia.
She actually is Russ from Alaska's favorite host.
Well, Russ knows what he likes.
Yep. What are you doing?
Some pizzas.
If you're going to be on the show, you got to face the camera. But I don't think you're going to be able to operate the priming press very well, so you're going to have to hop down. Anyway.
So Josh at 1,000 yards, either caliber will make that easy. 1,000 yards, nothing for either one of those calibers.
There's your answer, Jason.
Yep, got it. Lumpia.
I've done 1135 with my 308 bolt gun. When I went to the Whittington 2013.
I think with 308. I got to take that back. I don't remember my farthest with my 308. No, I don't think it was much. I think I got into really long range shooting when I got my 6.5.
Let me ask you this, Idaho Rogers. Idaho Rogers got a comment up. Mike's highlighting it. I have a 280 I'll put up against any 30-06, though. It's already been on steel at 1 mile. Yeah. Idaho, my question is, did you do the shooting? At a mile? That's well over 1,700 yards.
1760, baby.
All right. So,
what's 1,000 yards?
I never shot that far. I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, you're not helping there, Gracie. So that answers Adam's question on that. Adam, your last question, I'm going to honestly recommend you to a different show. He's got a question about a trigger and a 300 blackout. And he wants to know about SBR for self-defense. I'm going to recommend him to the AR-15 podcast on the Firearms Radio Network for those questions.
Yeah, well,
that's Sarah Bailiwick.
Timney makes drop-in trigger for the AR.
Everybody makes drop-in triggers for the AR.
Hey,
is he asking for a trigger recommendation?
He was asking for that, and then he was asking about SBRs for home defense. So
I have an answer, but yeah, if you want to recommend him to the AR-15 one, go right ahead.
What do you use?
I have it's not my AR pistol, it's in my 18-inch, but a Rise Armament.
Okay.
140. I got it from a guy cheap. I haven't shot it yet. I'm shooting it this weekend, but I've done a lot of dry fire with it. Love it. But as far as like a AR pistol, especially during a blackout, that's my current home defense gun. I love mine. Mine's 10.5 inch barrel. I'm hitting 200 yard, 6-inch plate all day long. So
awesome.
All
right.
Okay, you nailed Idaho Rogers. He didn't shoot it. His gunsmith did.
Very well. Give the man credit for being straight up and true. Being honest. Thank you, Idaho. Good answer. He says, quote, no, LOL, no, but there is a video of my gunsmith doing it on YouTube. I just took possession of the build.
So now he's got a goal.
Yep.
So David Emery says, a podcast question, says, looking back at old podcast videos, what happened to about the episodes after about 34? So what happened, Jim used to live in Pennsylvania, and Jim's internet was horrible. So Jim couldn't sustain video, and so we just went to doing audio, and then eventually Jim finally moved out of Pennsylvania and started getting some better internet, and now we do video again. So that is the answer to that.
There were times when we were on the air and I couldn't go on the air because with video, I could go on audio only. And Mike was doing video with me on audio only. Or I was using my iPad. And then he was using earbuds and a microphone, our headset, trying to do that on iPad. It worked well, but who knows? Well, we're back. Fortunately, I have quite a bit better internet down here.
Indeed. So,
good question, David.
All right, Gracie, you got to move. Say goodbye. There you go. All right, gang. So, oops. Really going to have to buy those 4x4s. So how the heck did I lose 100 primers? Oh, they're there. Okay. All right. So, we have our prep brass.
There's the sound of music or money, whichever you want to call it.
Money.
Yeah.
It's a gas.
So, well, you stop and think. 3 to 5 cents. What do you look going to prime, Mike? 9mm?
Yep.
Sounded like it. So you figure 3 to 5 cents per cartridge, per case or whatever. You know, each one 100 rounds. That's $30.
Yep. I dumped out more than I wanted, so.
No, 30 rounds. That's not $100. That's $3. That's 3 cents a piece.
Yep. All right, so we've got our brass. And now we've got our primers.
Zoom in on the equipment, Mike, please.
It's going to take me a minute.
Of course, no problem. That's why we record for 2 hours, to give us enough material to.
Oh, heck no. We don't record for 2 hours for that. We record for 2 hours because usually we stand around bullshitting for a long time. All right. So, Jason, here's a question for you. I've heard Jason say that he has shot at long range. What caliber and gun have you used? What's your personal best range? And are you using factory or personal loads? I can answer the last question first for Jason. Personal loads.
You're correct.
I'm thinking he's probably talking about when you're out shooting off the side of the mountain.
Yeah, so my longest range is 1 mile. And that was somebody, Terry Dillashaw's 300 Ultra Mag and some test loads he'd made up. Consistently, my 6.5 Creedmoor, and I believe I've taken that out to 1,530 yards.
Cool. So Idaho Rogers USMC wants to know, are we going to address the new Lee ACP press? I actually got to finger one this week. No, because I don't know squat about it. I haven't had time to look into it, so honestly, no. Okay, so for priming, there's kind of a few different options, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different options.
Well, the first one I'm thinking of is a clunky one, the one where you actually reload seat primers in the press itself. I don't think Mike's going to do that tonight.
I lost all the primers. Where did I put them all? I thought I put them in the drawer, but what the hell? Oh, there they are. So, we can. So, I don't have the priming set up for the Lee, but I do have a Dillon 550 right here. And that's not going to work. So, I'm going to make my camera go away for a second. You guys can talk amongst yourselves while I move it to the tripod. Or I'll just stand here because usually you guys don't talk amongst yourselves. So, Paul Nelson said 2,000 yards with a Burger 200 grain bullet has 140 inch drop at 2,500 feet per second. Not bad. And then Spudman said if you want to shoot 2,000 yards on your range, just install your scope backwards.
Jason, let me ask you this. What did you think of that 300 rum?
Shot pretty nice.
What was it like on recoil?
It had some recoil, but it wasn't overly abusive.
Was it a sporter barrel or a heavy barrel?
He had it was a hunting rifle, but it doesn't seem to me like it was as thin as a sporter, but it wasn't a heavy barrel.
Okay. Yeah, there's an intermediate barrel. The other thing is too, was it a factory barrel? Do you know?
No, I believe. Yeah, shoot. Yeah, actually, I think it might have been a factory barrel.
Well, I was told that Remington's been selling those rums with 26-inch barrel.
That sounds about right.
That's what we had a guest on here a long time ago who actually did 5K, over 5,000 feet per second with 30-06 or 30 caliber accelerators, carrying I think it was a 40 grain 224 diameter bullet, but he put the sabot in a 300 rum cartridge.
Oh, was it 300 rum that he did that in?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Gotcha.
Imagine that, Jason. Over a mile a minute.
That's something.
And if you want to know about that, that's LFD research.
About a mile a second, Jim, not a mile a minute.
You're right.
Mile a second. A mile a minute's kind of slow.
Yeah, 3,600 miles. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
a mile a minute, 60 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I know that's fast for you, Jim, at your age, but
yeah, shut up, Jason.
That's not like bullet fast.
In 1 minute, that would be 60 miles. In 1 minute, so that's scooting along. But he said he didn't try for accuracy. He wasn't sure if he would even hit the paper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
as I recall. That's screaming right along.
Oh yeah. So, all right, back to the show topic. Priming. So I've got this cartridge here. And
too close. It doesn't want to focus in on the head stamp.
Right, you are, Collide. There we go. Got it. Anyway, so you don't need to see a head stamp. You just need to see the fact that you can see through it.
Yep, I see the flash hole.
Or nothing in there. So we got to put something in there. So there's lots of different ways to do it. The way you can't do it is to just grab a primer out of your little container here and try and push it in. That won't work. So this here is a Dillon 550, and it is currently set up to actually load this particular caliber. And so if I want to prime I have to make sure that there is a primer in my primer loading area, which you can't see it. So I don't have this bolted down. Like I said, I broke a drill bit and I haven't gone and gotten another one. So, oh, nice shadow. All right. So I'm going to bring this around. And you guys can listen to my dog whine. So
I can see the primer now.
Yeah. So that's the priming station. So what you do is you slide your case in.
Mike, I know it's off topic, but please be very careful. That looks pretty rickety.
It is pretty rickety.
Okay. I don't want to see you drop it on your lap.
Well, it wouldn't be worse than when the AP lock and load smacked me in the head during a podcast. So,
Yeah, landing in your lap is worse than landing on your head, Mike.
no, not if it doesn't land in the middle of my lap. So, how you prime. Nope. Quiet. Sorry, my reloading partner is a little noisy this evening. Okay. Ooh, that's not good. So what you do is you actually prime on the. What is the official term for this? Is there an official term for it?
You prime on the backstroke.
Okay. So you've got your downstroke and your upstroke, which we covered last week. Downstrokes when you're moving the handle down and the ram moves up. Upstrokes when you're moving the handle up and the ram moves down. However, on this, to prime it, you actually have to push forward. Or, as Jim said, the backstroke.
And Mikey just seated a primer.
Ta-da! No more hole. Okay. So that's that. Now this whole entire thing can move. Yes, that's right. I went through the hassle of clamping it down just for one little thing. Oh, dear. Oop, too high. Okay. So now, I'm going to work on getting that level quick because it's kind of goofy. Oh, that's bent. So yeah, that's not going to get level. Okay. So now we need our primers. Our other primers. Or not primers, but priming tools.
I see a pack of primers, RCBS primers CCI primers right there on your bench.
Yes. No, I said we don't need the primers. I misspoke. We don't need the primers. We need the priming tools.
I know. I'm giving you a hard time.
Somebody should. Oh, walking mess tonight. All right. So now we're going to prime, and we're going to need a couple things for this. We've got obviously our primers, our brass. Get the camera cord out of the way. Get that screen out of the way. Okay. So we're going to use the Hornady hand priming tool that Sharenda hates so much that she sent to me. For starters. And so, good grief. So we're going to take it out of the case. And this is the base part of it.
Brand new.
And then most of your priming tools you get are going to have a couple of things in them. They're going to have a small and a large priming tray. They're going to have instructions of some sort.
You mean like as in primer magazine tray?
Sure. Usually a important warning. Warning, primers will explode.
I've had it happen. It'll set your mind right when you have a primer go off about 4 inches from your face.
Yep. So Spudman76 wants to know, was that a Dillon 550 or 550B? I heard if it's a 550, Dillon will convert it to a 550B for free. Actually, it started out life as a 450, and it's now a 550, so I'm not sure exactly what it technically is. So, instructions are a good thing to pay attention to, because especially if you haven't set this particular... Don't tempt me, Josh. Josh Costner said I thought he was going to use that red mouse to prime a case. I'll figure out a way to do it. Don't tempt me. So, if you've never used that particular tool before, especially in reloading, this is the one time you really want to read the instructions. So, especially when you're setting it up. Because as you can see, we've got a little Ziploc baggie with a couple of tools in here that we need to know where they go. So we've got the basic setup, which is this right here. Aluminum handle, and then this stuff here. This is kind of nice because it doesn't come apart, whereas some of the other ones do. So you kind of have to fidget with it to get it put back together. So this one, you just flip that back in, and it slides back down. And then what you got to do is you got to catch. Catch that rod that goes across with that. All right, so what these are is these are the primer punch. The official is primer seating pitch large and small. So look, you can see there's a definite difference. The camera would stay focused for a second. So we're doing small primers, so we want the smaller one. And how this goes is it drops down like that. Sits into here. Then you got your spring that goes on top of it like that. This slides back down. You should get that latched. And then what you have to do is you have to figure out which one of these trays is your small. Sometimes they're labeled. Sometimes they're not. So sometimes you just have to take, and like with a lot of the other things between small and large primers, compare the openings. So as you can see, the green one is a little smaller than the black one, so that's the one we want. So these usually are all like a twist lock. So you're gonna twist it free. That comes off. We can set this off to the side because we don't need that. Back. Usually put it back in the box so you don't lose it. And then what we need to do is we need to get some primers on our tray. Now I'm not planning on priming all of these with this set of primers, but as you can see, the tray is actually big enough you can put the entire pack of primers upside down on it and lift it up. I'm not planning on it, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and slide it out a little bit. Now, as you can see, I've used a little bit of this already. You notice there's tape on here. You want Scotch tape on these so your primers don't run away. Now, if you're only doing a little like this, you don't want to try and flip this over onto this. So you take it, flip it upside down like this, get it set first, and then you flip it over. Voila, primers. So now what I can do is I can put this on here, and I can line it up and lock it down. Now, for some reason, this has two sides. I'm not sure why, but as you can see, it does have a stop. So that's not the side I'm going to stick in. The side I'm going to stick in is the other one. Now I picked it up upside down, so I just launched that spring. So I want to pick that back up, go like that. And then, so this goes in like so. And then you got to work it down. And this was, Nick, was that you that said you broke one of these?
The Lyman one.
Oh, the Lyman one? Okay.
Yeah.
So as you can see, there's a primer there because I tipped it the wrong way. So now what I gotta do is get that primer out of there without breaking it. And then I'm just gonna set that off to the side because I don't want to deal with it at the current second. Now we need a shell holder. And so what you do is you're actually going to push this down. I think it's supposed to. You don't want to force these. See, like there was a primer in there. So I don't want to force it because I would have smacked that. But back to reading directions. And what you can do with these is you can actually just take your fat fingers and drop them back in. So most of these are made so you can shake them like this and it'll flip it over. That's why they've got the grooves. Some of them it won't flip back over. So you just have to take the lid back off and then do this. So, excuse me.
That's
so
a
Paul Nelson
Hornady?
said he wants, huh?
That's a Hornady?
Yep.
And it's green?
Yep. Then the other tray is black.
Huh.
So. All right. So one thing I got to know here. All right. Oh, it says 2 priming trays are compatible. Are included with your handheld priming tool. The black tray is compatible with Hornady shell holders and has both a large and small primer boss on each end of the primer tray. The green primer tray is compatible with RCBS shell holders and incorporates the same large and small primer size boss as the black tray. So there we go. Now we learned something important. So I wonder what style Lee are. I suppose Lee are probably the RCBS. I don't know. See, I've never used the Hornady, and now I understand why Sharenda said she hated this thing. Because it kind of does suck. So for 9mm, I need a 6. Oh, yeah. Or 19, and that's over there. So,
Mike, is that a regular RCBS style shell holder for that priming tool?
it's it says so. Yeah, it says either the Hornady shell holders or the RCBS shell holders for the green.
They're machined to be exactly the same.
Yeah, Lee and RCBS are the exact same.
So I'm going to be using.
Okay.
So that's how that sets. I suppose I can lift that up for a second. So that's how it's designed to sit. However, I'm not going to be able to put it in like this. So this slides in like so. Works down. and it needs to go down farther, which it's not. So the problem with plastic molding, sometimes they just don't cooperate well. So you got to force them a little bit. Then once you get that, then you slide your shell holder in.
That does seem to be a bit fiddly.
It is a bit fiddly. And so now that I've got that set up, that's the way it should look in there. And you can see the ram come up. Take your case, put it in there. And as you can see, as I feed it, it flips the primers over. That's cool. So I'm going to put the case in like that. And then I'm going to slowly push up like that, applying even pressure. And voila. I seeded a primer. Now, frankly, that's a lot of pain in the ass for not a lot of production. So I'm not impressed with this one. And I see why Sharenda wasn't. I mean, if you get it on a heck of a deal, it's probably not a bad deal. And I have an echo now. Does anybody else hear the echo?
No, I don't.
No.
Okay. All right, so it's just me. Good.
That's your brain reverberating between your ears.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Sorry, Mike, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, well, you know.
Well, one thing about it for this particular show, nobody's immune to getting roasted, including Sharenda.
Yep. So, but yeah, I understand why she doesn't like this thing. It's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I just looked that up on Midway USA. That thing's running $53 for that Hornady one for basically another $50. We have an RCBS one that we would have already had 30 cases prime by now.
Yeah.
So
Ours is bench mounted though.
yeah, but
Okay.
if you have the room, it works. Yeah.
Mike's got the shell holder. I'll be still struggling to get the primer tray out.
Yep. So yeah, not impressed with this setup.
Yeah, Spudman 76 actually just said the exact one we have, the RCBS automatic priming tool. I love mine, Spud, man. So if you're thinking about one, I would jump on it.
So we'll set that off to the side. Next is the Lyman Easy Prime. And the reason I left this out is because I'm going to take the primers out of it and put it into the other one.
Does the Easy Prime take those standard shell holders?
I haven't read the instructions yet, so.
Good man. Read the instructions.
Now, see, I know that shell holder is the right one, so I'm going to keep it out in case I need it.
You bet.
All right, so here's our instructions on this. As you can see, it's got two trays also. It's got a basic handle unit, and then it's got a little cap thing.
Looks a lot like my Lee auto prime system. X Prime, what it's called.
So the first direction is put on safety glasses, which I'm not wearing my glasses the current second, so. But I will put them on. Why do you wear glasses when you're priming? Safety glasses.
In
PPE.
case you have a kaboom.
Right. All right, so next up's the Lyman. Let's see here. See, they even say wear safety glasses when using. So now here's a nice thing about Lyman. Look on the back. It's labeled. I don't have to guess. So I can take the other one, put it back in the box. The other thing that I like off the bat with this one is this little feature here. It's primer shut off.
A shoot block.
Yep, feed shut off. So I don't know if I'm going to be a fan of this or not. That pops off rather easily, so it's not too bad. But I don't know when you've actually got primers in here and you're trying to top it off. Excuse me, how well that's going to work.
So Mike, on ours, ours broke.
Yeah.
So the first thing we did is when we first got ours, we noticed, the cover isn't keeping the primers down tight enough. So we just took like a big vegetable rubber band.
Yeah.
And that kind of kept it tight. But if you look at yours, so where the primer comes up, there's that little piece of plastic.
Yeah.
That's what's snapped on ours.
Okay.
So that's what holds your shell holder. So it kind of was useless.
Yeah, it kind of looks a little fragile. But the reason you want that primer stop is so that, and what he means by it wasn't tight enough is if you bounce them up and down like this, they were flipping probably,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
which sucks. All right, so now we can take the last of our RCB, our Hornady horrible hand primer. We'll go put that off to the side because we don't need it. Put that over with the box, package that up later. Maybe somebody will be unlucky enough to win that puppy. All right, so
There's a listener lost.
all right, so Lyman, how theirs works is they've got kind of the similar. They've got a little different style. Instead of pushing down when you're squeezing, the whole thing is pinned at the bottom, so there's just one pivot. If that makes sense. So then, the other thing you'll notice is this is not a rectangle. So that way, you know which way to put it in because that's not a rectangle. So that goes in like that, like so. And then it sits like that. Now that I've got that in, I can take my shell holder, and this is what he meant by it's the only thing holding the shell holder. That's the only thing holding the shell holder in place. So if that snaps off,
oh my God.
so if that breaks off, the shell holder kind of free floats. So, I mean, this locks the shell holder in place, but if that plastic wasn't there, it could still slide. So now, take my brass, put it in like that, flip that back upside down. Most of these primers are designed to be used at an angle. I can open it up and squeeze, and now I've primed the case.
Oh my.
Like so. The one thing I'm not doing is I'm not checking depths on these. Travis does that. He's pretty serious about it, as a matter of fact. So to the point where he's hijacked shows to talk about his method of what he uses to measure his primer seating depth. So you go back a few shows and he talks about it quite a bit.
Where is Travis?
Travis is celebrating the day he gave up his freedom. So he decided that he should spend that with his wife as opposed to us.
Oh my! He's
No,
gonna
what he said was, "I think I'd better spend it with my wife."
He thought about it first, so
He did.
okay. So now this can get set off to the side because I don't need the primers right now because the next selection,
Yeah.
primers. So this is the older style Lee. It's not the oldest style,
Right.
but it is the older style. It's kind of the in between. The original Lees were round.
Yep.
And they didn't have the silly step that these things have. So if you look here, right there, if it'll focus, grasshopper. Okay. So if you see that little plastic thing that's sticking up there, that actually is a spot where it's lifted and then it moves the primer. Now, the one thing that they did put in there is they put in a stopgap. So if you do have a primer that explodes, there shouldn't be any other exposed. And I'll kind of show you that a little more on this. So as you're looking here, try and find an angle.
Perfect focus.
So now you can watch as that comes up and the camera goes out of focus. Because I am more jittery than a boy picking up a local sheriff's daughter.
Anyway, that's a primer. That's an explosion block.
Yep. Now, Lee doesn't use
He must be coming this way.
the same style of shell holder. Theirs, it looks like somebody took and ground off the nub. So that's the style shell holder they use in their primings. So just like everything else, you push down a little bit because you do have to have tension to hold that in place. And then you let that back up and it puts it back in there like so.
That's die cast. The body of that, the chrome plated body of that is a die cast metal.
And so there you can see the primer press come up. So how you feed this one, it's a little different, is you got to roll them like this, roll them up, and then they kind of go in. And as you can see, they don't necessarily always feed so nice. And then, as you can see, it actually stops, and there's only one. So then when I push this, it actually picks that up and then moves it to the next spot, where then it drops down and is ready to prime. So then I can take my unprimed brass, put it in there, and push down, and voila.
Mikey seated his third primer for the night.
Yep. Now that is the older style, and as you can see, there's a primer in there right now. If you flip it back over, all the primers run out, and the one that was in there goes back down. So sometimes you got to wiggle it a little bit to get down and back in there, but eventually it will go back in. And then you can do that, and you can take it apart if you want. So that can go back in its box. So, and yeah, the Jorgen's Paul Nelson said he'll stick to his RCBS bench mount. Yeah, that's fine. I've never used a bench mount, so I don't know if it's good or bad, honestly. And then Jorgen said the Lee feed system looks like a pain in the ass compared to the RCBS. Yes, that is a pain in the ass, which is why it wasn't on the market very long, and Lee introduced a whole new one.
Lawyers designed the old Lee one.
Yeah, that one I just showed you, lawyers designed that to try and keep, because the biggest complaint that Lee had with the original style is there was nothing to keep you from having a chain reaction explosion. So that's why they put that little divider in there and that extra.
I probably have seeded 100,000 primers with my old Lee Auto Prime system.
And you have you have the original, right?
I had the original, but I
Or
wound
did you
up
send that in?
I had to send it in because I pushed the front off. I used it so much I pushed the front off.
Okay.
The body. But anyway, I probably seeded 100,000 primers with my Lee Auto Prime, the round kind.
Right.
And I never once had a detonation. My hands aren't strong. I got strong hands. My hands aren't strong enough to crush that pellet with the ram.
Yeah, so here's the new style. It's kind of similar to the old one as far as how you put it together, but operation is completely different. So as far as that goes, you've got this setup here now, and that's your small, and that's your large, and it's all in this little cartridge here. And they still kept the little metal barricade, but here is your primer tray. And unlike any of the previous Lees, it actually has a lock in it, so you can stop the flow. but you can open it up. And now is where I'm going to grab that Lyman from earlier. And I'm going to pour those in. And then I can finally put the Lyman away for now. And just like all the rest of them, they've got a tray so you can shake it.
Hold it up a little higher, Mike.
So you can shake them when they're all shiny side up, because you don't want them shiny side up. You want them anvil side up, like so.
Thank you.
And then this closes like this. Make sure this is slid all the way down. And then put it to the lock position, so that way you can't shake any primers out. And then how this works is it just literally slides into here. And then you can go ahead and flip your switch to on. Your primer will go down like so. And then this has still got it's got a little bit of a goofy feed system, but it's not as bad as the old one. So it's still got a lift and feed. But it doesn't want to feed like it should. Sorry. So there is now what it looks like while I was waiting. And just like before, you can push this up, pick it back, and then drop it again.
Does that lead priming tool use the same flat bottom shell holders that come out of that little red tray there, Mike?
Yep.
Good.
So same style. And just like on the other one, you press it down a little bit. Slide your shell holder in. And then let it back up. So now I can flip that back on.
Andy 79Z28 put in a comment, pretty germane to what we're doing here. He says you have to put a shell holder in or it will not feed right.
Correct. Now that I have a shell holder in, it dropped it right through. Put the shell holder in, just like that. Bada bing.
Did you have to put a lot of force with that thumb?
No.
Try another case. And folks, notice that he's got a fresh primer right there in the tray. Wow. He's using he's using the weakest leverage he could possibly give. That's pretty good, Mike. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't take a lot of effort, and boom, there's another one. So the nice thing about this one that I didn't like about that one I just showed you from Lee, this one, it feeds a lot better. And it's actually pretty quick. The only thing you got to watch for is occasionally it will flip a primer on you. So but that's more how it's coming in than anything. Usually once they're into the feed chute, they won't flip. So, but it's just a quick visual inspection and you'll know when you're on your way, just like the rest of them are. So Andy Z79Z28. See, I just wanted to use up the rest of those primers so I don't have to put them back in the case because it's a pain in the ass. All right, so Andy 79Z28 just said, I got the ACP priming press. It works great. There's a video on his channel. So that was a question that was asked earlier, was about that. And I don't, like I said, I don't know anything about it, but there's a video reference for you. It's Andy 79Z28 on YouTube. So go take a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
There is bench mounted press or priming presses. There is stuff that you can get for this single stage press. There's a bunch of stuff for other single stage presses. A lot of them are just a little like it's just something that sits in the, there's a slit in the ram and it just flips out and then it just flips back. So, I forgot to grab that rock crusher press because I think it has one on it. So, But if you guys want to babble for a minute, I'll let you know. I'll go grab it quick. Hang on.
Jason, what sort of priming system do you use? Take us off highlight, Mike.
I have the RCBS hand primer.
Okay.
Um,
Do you prime them one at a time, or do you have a magazine for that tool?
one at a time for my rifle. Now, when I'm doing pistol and I'm just doing it on progressive, I just use it.
You just do it on your 650.
Yeah.
That was a good answer to whoever asked the question, what's the fastest way to prime cases? On a progressive press while you're reloading is the fastest way to prime cases.
Mm-hmm.
So James S. Evskij, question is, so out of those hand primers you went through, which is your favorite, best recommendation? I would say personally that he would, I'm guessing for Mike, that he likes the little Lee hand primer with the white magazine. We'll ask him when he comes and puts his headphones back on. Excuse me. Mike, you there? Mike's
Nope.
got it.
Nope,
No.
this is a figment of my impersonation.
Okay, the question is, you highlighted it from James
Escovich.
Or Eviskij. Okay, fine. So out of those hand primers, which one you went through, which one do you recommend?
Out of the ones I just went through?
Yep.
It's kind of hard because I haven't done a lot of priming with the Lyman or with the Hornady. I mean, the setup on the Hornady is a pain in the ass, to be honest.
Amen.
The Lyman's actually not bad. So I actually have used the Lee a lot, so I'm kind of biased towards that.
Me too.
But
that looks like a Harder's press.
It is a Micro Precision from Omaha, Nebraska. So my guess is it probably was like a Pacific. The thing is, I think it's broke.
Take it off highlight, Mark. Unhighlight the comment, Mike, please.
Yeah.
Walking. There we go. Good picture. Now, what Mike, show me the slot in the front of that ram.
So
what this does is, right, if Mike can take the shell holder out of the ram, Mike, that way you can show him where the thing's going to come in.
It don't want to come out. It's stuck in there.
That poor thing is in trouble. But anyway, underneath there is where it goes in.
Yeah.
Slot in the ram. The ram is supposed to come up higher, and then the shell holder settles down over the top of the primer cup.
Yeah. And I don't know why this isn't moving.
Is there a locking screw on that one, Mike?
I don't know.
Check the linkage, Mike, in the bottom. Something's blocking that thing. It's funny because we're telling Mike what to do. He's over there handling about 25 pounds of cast iron.
Yeah.
With one hand or the other, and he's doesn't have it on the bench either. So he's doing quite a job. And he's running a live podcast.
Yeah.
I don't see anything.
There's definitely something blocking that linkage.
Yep. I don't know. So, Paul Nelson said hand tool wise, he likes the RCBS. There's actually two RCBS primers, hand primers. There's one that actually operates a lot like the ones I just showed off, and there's another one that uses strips.
Yeah, those strips only hold 25 primers at a time.
The strip, isn't that the bench mount, or is that a handheld?
They have a bench mount and a handheld.
It actually goes in in their progressive press too. You imagine that 25 primers at a time in a progressive press.
All right.
Did you figure it out, Mike?
Nope.
Does it need a little awl?
Don't break it, Mike. Please.
Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna. That's why I did it with my hand like that. So obviously there's something in here somewhere that's stuck, and I don't know what is stuck that's causing this to not rotate like it should. So what I'll wind up doing is taking it apart and figuring it out. Nice thing is, basically you pull that hairpin, or you can pull the C-clip or E-clip either way and then drive the pin out, and then everything's nice and free and moving. So the ram comes out the bottom, and away you go. But I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to do that later. So anyway, but I mean, that's kind of a lot of the things that you run into. Hey, Butch, I picked up my brass. So Paul Nelson said the one he likes is the one that doesn't use shell holders. I think that's the one that uses the strips, but I'm not sure. I'm not familiar enough with it to know. I mean, there's a lot of different ones out there. You get all the way up to the fancy one that they were talking about in the chat, which Travis is drooling over and wants badly, but can't justify spending the money, which is from Primal Rights.
$1,200, as I recall.
Something like that. But
600.
How much?
600.
So 600? Okay. The nice thing about the Primal Rights, it's a bench mount. It's consistent, literally. You can actually set it. Now, with a hand primer, if I was with the hand primer, I've got all these here that I just primed. I can guarantee you that they're probably not all set to the same depth. Now, one of the problems we have is two different style primers. These are the CCIs. I want to say these were Winchesters. Oh, no, these are Cellier and Belows. So, I mean, there are different designs in the primers. The Celliers are more of a flat, whereas the CCI's got a little bit more of a lip to them on the edge there. So you can see that little divot. So that would make it a little more interesting to... But basically what it does is it measures the space between the top of the head case, or the top of the case, the head, flat across. Basically, it's like laying a flat across here and then measuring your depth down to the top of the primer. However, you're talking, thousands to hundreds of thousands of an inch. So it's a minute measurement, but it can make a difference. So it's another one of those rabbit hole things that you can get to really fine tune your consistency in your load.
When I'm making handgun ammo, all I want to do is make sure that my primer seats in the bottom of the pocket.
Yep.
So that way, whatever energy the firing pin puts into that cup of the primer, it sinks it right into the priming pellet and smashes it against that anvil. The anvil bearing slightly in the bottom of the primer pocket creates a small amount of pressure, and it pre-stresses. That was the word. Pre-stresses the priming pellet.
So
Mike's trying to pretend he's going to see the primer by hand.
no, I just flipped it upside down and set it in there.
Okay.
But what he's saying is he's not sitting it like that or high at all. It's actually down below. So
Right. I actually seat my primers till they bottom out.
Yep. And you can tell because all of a sudden your force ratio increased.
Oh yeah, you know when you're at the bottom of the case head or the primer pocket.
Yep. So, and this is that one I set off to the side that I said I have to put back later. So let me put that back now.
Now let me throw a little side in there. Jason, you have a friend from Indiana in the show tonight. You throw a shout out. Yeah, throw a shout out towards Butch Williams.
Oh, hey, Butch. How you doing, buddy?
if he's still on the air with us.
Oh, cricky. And so when you're doing this, you got to make sure if you're going to clean up, you check your brass to make sure you're not picking up primed brass to put back in your bag. Because that's annoying if you go to, and it's not a nice surprise if, say, like you're, running it on your progressive press where your first stage is decapping.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a nice surprise to all of a sudden on brass that you thought was deprimed, and you hear that little tink noise when you run that first stroke. So yeah, you want to make sure you pay attention.
In other words, it costs you about 4 cents a primer, 4 to 5 cents a primer, depending upon what you decapping live primers.
Well,
Throwing away money.
Depends. Some of the guys in Discord were talking about prices they've paid or somebody else has paid for primers, and they're paying more than 4 cents a primer.
Oh yeah, some people are paying 40 cents a primer.
Yep.
Wow, that's crazy money.
I got a question for everybody. When you're priming your brass and doing hundreds and hundreds of rounds of it before you reload it, how long do you guys leave it just primed, and what do you store it in?
I don't.
You know?
No, when I'm building a bunch of ammo, I do it on my progressive, and I just simply build ammo. I store ammo, but I don't store like primed brass.
Yeah, I don't do that either.
Now, the exception will be these that I just primed, because I will need those for next week.
For the show.
So they will go in a Ziploc baggie.
Right. Here's what I do. I've got some old plastic airtight containers. I'll put them in there, and I'll put a silica pack in it to keep any moisture out.
Yeah.
But I'll only let them sit that way for a week or two, then I'm loading them.
Yeah. Yeah, when you let them sit out to the elements, you can get compromised primers.
Yeah, but how much is that cardboard sleeve really protecting it from moisture?
Right.
The cardboard sleeve that you're talking about actually is a bit hygroscopic. It can attract the moisture that you're talking about to a certain extent. But if you keep that pack in its brick, and then of course keep the brick in an airtight container, you're not going to have that problem.
Correct.
Yep.
Because the brick is usually made out of cardboard. The packs are made out of cardboard, and except for the tray that's in this plastic tray, it's inside, but it doesn't attract moisture anyway. Yeah. So they're pretty well protected. Matter of fact, I believe somebody told me they tried primers that were 20 years old, and they went off just fine.
The reason I've always wondered, because I can't tell you how many vendors are selling pre-primed brass and shipping that primed brass, and so I don't.
Well, they can do that, but they can't. They can, because it's in the primer. The primer is in the primer pocket. They can put it under the same auspice as a loaded ammo.
Right.
It looks like you're doing a little bit more fiddling, Mike.
Yeah, I was just trying to take it down, and it doesn't want to come down like it's supposed to. So I got to figure that out without breaking it.
Yep.
So anyway, because this whole thing is supposed to slide out, and right now the whole thing isn't sliding. So I can't get my shell holder out.
Well, you have to push that down to work the shell holder out. Push it down and hold it.
Yeah, but it wasn't moving. So it was,
I got you.
Normally, what you should be able to do is you should be able to just push this down and the whole thing should go. However, it's not. As you can see, that block is staying. So I'll have to do it the other way, which is where you take this out and then slide the whole thing down. And then that just goes back in like that. So, all right, gang.
I agree.
Well, Thank you to everybody that tuned in and either liked or gave a thumbs up on the video tonight on the podcast. This will be released Sunday or Monday, depending on how much time I get to edit. So I'm hoping Sunday. Anybody else got any shout outs that we missed from earlier?
We need to tell Mark Hookham to hurry up and get his ass back on the job. I know.
Anyway, so, all right, gang. Shout out to all of our Patreons. We greatly appreciate you all. And thank you for everybody that supports the show, whether it's via Patreon or if it's just simply emailing us and talking to us, however they get to a hold of us. Just greatly appreciate all of the contact we get. As we're going along, you may notice that the presence is less on Facebook than desired. Well, that's kind of because we're running into more and more problems with Facebook. So Jim got as he said earlier, he got a ban for posting a link. We've had some of our admins that have gotten warnings for doing admin stuff, like removing posts, and then they've gotten warnings. So Facebook's getting a lot dumber in their operations. So who knows? But we're on MeWe. We've got the Discord. So otherwise, you can get a hold of us different ways. So. And worst case scenario, send us a text, 608-467-0308. And on that note, keep your brass shiny.
Keep your powder dry.
Jump on the mill short bus.
Support the Second Amendment. It's the most important thing you can possibly do.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.